Let's radio. Let's podcast.
You know how it's
live from the Ethan Studios. We are obviously. So here's the thing. I honestly, Chip mentioned this yesterday, and I promise you, I was thinking of him before that. Of like, so I sub in. You are the color guy on the podcast, right? Ovius is play-by-play, okay? But when you get a guest on, you move over to play-by-play, and I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think you should still be the color guy. And like, I'm not saying that I do as good a job as Ovius. I don't. No one will do as good a job as the home podcaster, right?
Right.
But so like, you should be set up, and then you do more of the talking by being set up, right? Sometimes I think when you're playing play-by-play, we miss out on Giglio color guy. So I'm starting right there. What's happening in the world of sports? He's got a rowback hoodie on. We're in the Eford Studios, brought to you by Copiers Plus, home of the Kyocera Printa. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. Off the top of my head. All right, take it away. Sorry. But I do. I think I should fill in and be play-by-play guy, not switch roles.
It's fine. We could tag team this. We are in the Eford Studios.
Yeah.
Thanks to Empire Eats, Empire Properties.
Yeah. Shout out Greg.
Go get your coffee right there at the Morning Times. If only that was the only thing they had. He owns all of downtown, so hit up all of his spots. Pretty please. Mecca for lunch if you're in the mood. Copiers Plus, the primary sponsor of this program. Copiers-plus.com. Bracket printing is over, but tax season is here, so hit up our friends at Copiers Plus. Drew down in Fayetteville, they do such a great job for any business, small or big. Hit them up, copiers-plus.com. And when Jovis is out, Hayes Permar is in today. We're now 3 for 3. We had Dimitri, then Chip Patterson, and now Hayes. Hayes gets 2 days.
That's right.
Because he's special.
I got more things to say.
He does. And actually, you did do the entire show today. So I salute and tip my hat to you.
You're 3 for 3 on what?
3 days, 3 different hosts.
Oh, okay.
Like that's that's how you know you're really good, when you need 3 different people to fill in for you. So yes, Joe's still out in California enjoying his time in Disneyland. We are going to get into your first topic here, but first let's talk about Matt Davis and State Farm, because Matt is a Duke fan, and Matt does not hate Duke and doesn't need reasons to hate Duke.
Duke fans should be feeling good
either.
Right now.
Duke fans should be feeling good, and you should be feeling good about saving money on all of your insurance needs. Give him a call, 919-779-8277, or go to insuregarner.com. All right, sir. So on Monday, I advanced the theory that this is not a hateable Duke team. In fact, they might even be likable and or lovable. And Hayes Permar heard this and said, okay, Giglio, perhaps, perchance, you're not really understanding the dynamic here.
Well, no,
the triangle.
I think you are, first of all, because I'm kind of seeing this as a trend. I listen to other sports podcasts, and they're saying the same thing. And I listen to other places. If you Google right now, like Duke hate, if you're like, all right, gearing up for the Final Four, my team's out, but at least Duke's in there. I got a team that I know how to feel about. It's Duke, and I hate them. And you go Google who are their players that I hate this year. Go Google Duke hate and hit like news. It's all of the headlines are like, Duke, not that hateable this year. Why do we like Duke? Why do we like Duke?
What is happening?
So I just wanted to remind people that like there is a way that sports work, right? And the Yankees, we hate them. We don't care if their players are actually out like feeding, the homeless and making life better and like helping old ladies across the street. We just hate the Yankees because they're the Yankees, right?
Okay.
Now, also, I want to be clear. I grew up a UNC fan. Basically, we became a UNC fan when my oldest sister, enrolled at the University of North Carolina. We didn't really have strong affiliations. My parents weren't from North Carolina, but I grew up all the way here, and that became my team, and it was a good time to root for them. Late 80s, early 90s, right? And so at that time, I did hate Duke, like irrationally and stupidly, in a way that's fun to be a fan. You know? One of the things,
maybe not Will Blythe style, where you had to write a whole book about it.
Yes. But just wearing a funny T-shirt But one of the things that working in sports media can do to you, and I know people don't believe this, is it's not that you become neutral like some fake way where like, well, I just decided to become zen with how I feel about Duke. You at times have expressed the things that
bother me about Duke.
Yes, or in general, why the teams that bother you the way they do, the elitism, all those things, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't neutrally opine on the team themselves.
Absolutely.
The university. So for me, it was when I worked in radio and Duke, it was definitely like a campaign on their part. And in fact, we might get to this. They were trying to soften their images the wrong way, but like win people over, as opposed to, I feel like the first part of the Mike Krzyzewski era was, we'll just win and then you'll have to come over to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he at some point realized, you know what? I made Duke a winner. Now I'm going to make Duke cool. And darn it if he didn't like do that pretty well too. But I see you like your eye twitching a little bit. But they were very good at reaching out to the media, at providing Mike Krzyzewski for little podunk small town radio interviews that other schools weren't giving. They invited the media over to play basketball, which I know sounds, people are listening to be like, wow, you media dupes are really easily like won over.
Yes.
But like, yeah.
Speaking of which, a new addition over your shoulder there, Dan Brooks celebrating 40 years at Duke. Thanks to our friends over at Duke for sending us that bobblehead there. So,
but just do when the
women's golf,
when the Manning brothers would come to town, giving an exclusive window, knowing that as soon as you invite the ESPN guys, they're gonna elbow out the local media for asking any questions. Having a protected period where only local media would come over, and again, that's Duke athletics, not just Duke basketball. But there was.
I thought you were trying to tell me why we hate Duke. I hate Duke.
Okay, sorry, I was getting to why I personally do not hold hatred for Duke.
However,
can we start the music? And if you needed reasons to hate Duke, I decided I would do the thing. We need some headlines that say Duke still hateable. Okay. Here's number one. This is how bad my list is. They killed light rail. Duke killed light rail. Yes. We were going to have light rail at least between Durham and Chapel Hill. Duke killed it. We should hate him for that. Okay. Here's a real reason to hate him. The K Farewell Tour. Because right now, the K Farewell Tour is going to be spun as the intelligent way to do a transition to John Shire.
See, it worked.
No. This was nothing about Coach K transitioning. This was about the Coach K farewell tour and wanted the glory of being able to march through a season where everyone would give him, his due. Speaking of John Shire, am I correct that Mike Krzyzewski only has daughters?
Mm-hmm.
So he looks at John Shire kind of as a son?
I think Wojo might have been more there, but
go with me there.
Yeah.
Isn't he a Chicago guy?
Yeah.
That's more son. So therefore, John Shire, Nepo baby.
Okay.
We're calling him a Nepo baby because he is K's forgotten son, and we hate Nepo babies. All right. Here's some real ones. Cooper Flagg's parents. I couldn't believe this.
I just need a little. I need a little pause for. We hate the Nepo baby. Checks North Carolina's coaching staff.
Hey.
Checks notes the money that is going to Bill Belichick's bank account.
Get out
Checks
here.
Notes. Sorry.
Yes, Shire's a Nepo baby. Cooper Flagg's parents. I couldn't believe this when they had that little mini controversy that they were like cussing.
Oh, because they went to the Smith Center and they were acting up a little bit.
They were doing the
and I think some of her language was caught on a camera somewhere.
Okay. We used to have a universal rule in sports, right? Spouses and or other family members, when they become part of the story, it's always bad. These are losers. Somehow the internet was like, no, they deserve to be doing that. Cooper's sick. He's nasty. They can do the dunked on side. And it was like, wait, what? What world am I living in? I thought inherently, once the parents became part of the story, it's bad, right? Parents should never be seen.
Quite a flimsy list.
Yes.
You have.
All right, I'm still going. Okay, I got a couple.
Do they get any better or interesting?
All right. Rick Riley famously
more accurate.
Rick Riley famously wrote a column about hating Duke, and one of the big things was their soap opera names. It was like, Shane, it's not your baby, it's Trajan's. I remember that line from Rick Riley. They've still got corny names. Con, Cooper, come on, or as your boy Roy Cooper would say, Cooper. That's how we say it down here in the South. Guys, Con and Cooper, come on. And then the number one, white guys, right? We're still supposed to hate teams that are mainly leaning
they're
on white
not
guys.
small. They're not munchkins like Collins or Paulus or Wojo.
And I've read multiple features over the last couple weeks over who's that last guy on the bench, their 5'8" dude that comes in now and hit 3-pointers, who, by the way, is the great-great-grandson of Washington Duke. Like the epitome of Duke.
There's your Nepo, baby.
Well, I know. That's the actual Nepo, baby. But we're writing about him as if it's this lovey-dovey into the bench. This guy scrapped so hard to make it. He's the biggest underdog. And it's like, no, dude, his family is like billionaires. They're Washington Duke. So.
I'm going to give you an A for an effort,
right.
a D for execution.
Those are my reasons to hate Duke.
But here, listen, Chris Long does his Green Light podcast, the former Virginia football player, former Eagle.
Yep. Good dude.
He had Tyler Hansborough on, and he asked him this question. So maybe he has a better reason than your flimsy list that you just came up with.
Hated Duke. But I'm having a hard time hating them because Shire seems cool, and they play differently than the old Duke teams. Can you help us hate Duke? Snap us out of it.
Yeah, it's still Duke. I can tell you that. And there may be some new faces, but it's the same old. But I will say, Duke's been a juggernaut all year, and Shire's done a great job, especially with coaching these young kids, because a lot of teams that have had a lot of success lately, they're not as young as what Duke is now with Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and the Naluwatch kid. Those are all freshmen. And so it's rare to see a team like that that's so young make such a deep run and have, success throughout the whole year.
I did hear that you hate NC State maybe almost as much, or is it in the neighborhood of Duke?
It's yeah, I do. I dislike State way more. And
I've always.
That's why you like it. You love anybody who admits they hate State more than Duke.
Psycho T.
I mean, no, he's got the number one reason. If you
ever still
hate Duke, it's still Duke. It's still the Yankees. It's still the Cowboys. Doesn't matter if their coach is cool. Doesn't matter if he seems like a better dude. Like he's got the Brad Stevens vibe, not the Coach K vibe. You know what I mean? He seems like a good dude. Their players aren't that annoying. I think you nailed it before. It's mostly the one and done. You don't have time to hate these guys.
Right.
Even Cooper and Khan and Malwatts, these guys seem to actually carry themselves in a non-hateable way, and we don't have the flopping and the floor slapping. Some of those.
There's a lot of that. There is a lot of that now.
But I do think if they were here for 2 or especially 3 years, there'd be some. Well, now I just hate you because you just keep winning, right? But,
yeah, if they were LJ Cryer.
Yes.
Houston's leading scorer in his 5th year.
Yeah.
You're sitting here thinking LJ Cryer. He was on Baylor's national championship team in 2021.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem possible. If Duke had a Baycott, if Duke had a Baycott or if Duke had an RJ Davis, then you'd start to get a little push.
Duke does the right thing. They're like, if you're still playing college ball after 5 years, you're probably not good enough to be playing for us anymore. Jeremy Roach.
They just told Jeremy Roach, hey, man, love you, mean it. All right, so anytime we talk about ACC basketball, it's brought to you by our friends, the Donnelly team, Keller Williams commercial, trianglenccommercial.com, 919-616-8681. Maybe you're Hayes Permar. Maybe you own a business and you're like, man, I'd really like to get another theater. Hit up our friends, Brian and Julie. Maybe you're like Hayes Permar. You're like, man, I sell beer and alcohol, but I'd really love to have a space to sell food. Boom. Hit up our friends, Brian and Julie, 919-616-8681. All right, Hayes, we made it through the opening segment. You know what comes next?
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Rand with the harmony.
I know. Housekeeping brought to you by Inovana Green Cleaning Solutions. You know they're over at the Ovius abode. They got to be.
They go to Ovius's house every day, even when he's not there.
When he's not there,
they're just cleaning up after themselves.
They got to make sure. They got to make sure. And I haven't played it all week, so.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Inovana.
Oh, I gotta hit pause and get rid of that. All right, so
I will say with the pollen, there is something to clean up every day now.
Yes. So we've got new shirts. This is the old Greater Greensboro logo that we have commandeered and turned into the OG Golf Classic 2023. It's like doing it backwards. 5 stars only, as you can see. This is a beauty. Get that at Breaking T. It's breaking and the letter T. There's a link below in the YouTube comment section. Go check them out. Get those shirts. Help support us. Hayes has his Rialto shirt on. You can support the Rialto. Go to therialto.com. What do we have coming up? I always feel like there's something on there
A lot of live
that catches my eye, and I'm like, yeah, I want to go do that.
A lot of live music in April, not as many movies. We do have Half Baked on 420 if you want to.
Oh, really?
That. Yeah, at 420.
Appropriate.
At 420 on 420, we will be showing Half Baked, but a lot of live shows. So check out all kinds of music, rock, folk, bluegrass. And then first weekend in May is probably our biggest live music weekend. We got Chatham County Line and His Golden Messenger back to back. The His Golden Messenger show also benefits the Me Fine Foundation.
Oh, cool.
Our mutual friend Joey Powell always does great stuff over there. So that is a huge, cool weekend of local music. Those are the type of acts that people love to see at the Rialto. So check out everything we're doing at therialto.com. Thank you.
That's right. And now Roback. You mentioned I got my Roback on. I got my peaches out in Georgia. I get my golf gear from Roback.
Yep.
RHOback.com. Chip was here yesterday. I didn't clip it and put it on the board, but I should have.
I heard it. Yep.
Yeah. Use that promo code OG20. You'll save 20% on your initial order. So go to roback.com.
I feel bad. Roback did me a favor. They reached out. They heard me on the podcast.
They did. And you got yourself a shirt.
I know. And I meant to post it the week of the ACC tournament, and I didn't. I forgot. And I owed them one. That was poor gift receiving by me. I should have. So let them know that the love is there. But then it felt dumb posting the shirt after ACC tournament week. So next year I'll get them with a picture. So
we have finally hit the tipping point in our butcher's market reads and commercials. I opined yesterday that they probably want me to more so promote the things that they're known for than the hot dogs. Since I get caught up, as you know, I get caught up on certain taglines and my talking points. The text came yesterday.
Well, I can tell you, I'm still crushing it with the Steak of the Month Club.
Okay. Perfect.
There are
all
rules.
Things they would love to promote.
There are rules. You can't show up, 3 months after the meat was. I think February was lamb chops. I can't show up in July and be like, "Hey, can I get those February lamb chops?" But I will say, it's April 2nd right now when we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
They often. Since you'd probably be like me of sometimes forgetting exactly when you need to get there. So my point is they usually have a grace period of a day or two. So March has ended, but I'll go today and I'll still get the March Steak of the Month. So they don't. It's only guaranteed in the month that you're supposed to get it. But usually
they also have Tuesday specials every Tuesday. And Kenneth sent me a message. He goes, "I think it's probably time I start sending you our talking points for our Tuesday specials." Look, they got great everything. So hit them up. It's thebutchersmarkets.com, Cary, Lake Boone, Millbrook, and Six Forks, is it?
Quail Ridge. Have you ever heard of Quail Ridge Books?
No.
You've never heard of Quail Ridge Books?
I have, but
Quail Ridge Books was originally called Quail Ridge Books because it was in that.
Oh, okay.
And now they moved from Ridgewood to.
I can always count on you coming up with a
now.
local establishment that doesn't advertise with us to promote on this podcast. I appreciate that consistency from you. That's awesome.
When you write your New York Times bestseller, we will have a reading at Quail Ridge Books for you.
Now, speaking of hazes and the real haze of this program, Hayes Lancaster, Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, they have an April special going on for treatments. And I gotta tell you, Hayes has really outdone himself. Go to bugsbite.com. Hayes does not believe in contracts, but he does believe in saving you money. How much? Well, in April, they have a promotion, $29 for your first mosquito control service. That's $29. Now, typically that's for new customers, but if you're a repeat customer and tell them you're here from the OG, they will honor that deal. So $29, get your first mosquito treatment control service. Hit them up. It's bugsbite.com. It is my life's ambition while Joe Ovis is out to get every person who's ever worked in radio in the Triangle on this program. Gordon Miller now joining Hayes, Permar, and I here on the OG today. And Gordon, I want you to tell Final Four stories, but I don't want to keep you this whole day. I think you have pressing matters that you need to get to.
Yeah, there's pressing matters in Danville because they won't build a casino here, and I've got to go cash a ticket or two.
Okay,
I do love how anybody says Danville now. It's like it's assumed what we know. There's no nice new restaurant in Danville. There's not a Buc-ee's in Danville. There's one thing in Danville.
It could be, right?
It could be. It is a casino, baby, and that's the reason we're all headed to Danville.
Okay,
There's
so
a Hardee's and a McDonald's.
so you don't use the apps. You've been going to like your old school. You want to go in person and get a real ticket, and I mean respect.
Yeah, you wanted older hosts, and Joe's old co. I think I'm Joe's oldest co-host.
First, right?
First and oldest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm old school. It's the thing about the apps is it's so easy to just send money. It doesn't feel like it's real money, and so being old school, I would prefer to have my money in my hand, go ahead and do it, place the bet, cash the ticket, and be done with it. So yeah, I'm hopeful for Raleigh, but all we're building right now is Charlotte, I guess.
My big question is, have you run into Roy Williams there yet? I keep getting pictures sent to me of people who are in Danville. They're like, Roy Williams is here at the craps table.
I can promise you, if I do see Roy, it'll be all over social media.
Well, I assume what happens is he has a tea time together with three guys. For whatever reason, the weather doesn't hold. So they're like, well,
Then they
guys,
just go.
we had 5 hours, 6 hours blocked. Let's just jet up, hit the tables, and then come back. From the pictures, it looks like he's with golfing buddies, but keep an eye out for Roy up there.
Yeah, and I think the other problem was I went out to Vegas for tournament week, so it kind
You
of
did.
Yeah, so it kind of not March Madness, but the week I would enjoy the week before.
Yeah.
Because teams have played 2-3 times. It's not, trying to pick a 1 and a 16, and Duke just kept winning. Carolina kept winning. Carolina covered that last day against Duke, which I had written off already and almost tore the ticket into pieces.
Oh, don't do that.
No, I
Not
didn't.
the real
No,
tickets.
No, I did not. I did not do the real tickets.
Gordon, there's a
but yeah,
reason that your
it's-
bank account looks like it does and mine looks like mine does. When you're sitting here going, those online things, the money doesn't seem very real. It's like, yeah, yes, all things that are yes, but
it's too easy. And they've made it very, very simple.
I was going to say,
Oh.
they're good at making it
Now-
easy to give you their money.
now wait a second.
Yes.
Wait a second. Speaking of easy, this is a natural transition,
Uh,
right?
We got easy.
Super easy. I'm going to take Hayes out of the shot here real quick, though.
Fine.
MillerLending.com/the OG. No closing cost refi. You're the one who did it. It's you. I mean, talk about easy. MillerLending.com/the OG. 919-447-3377. I'm not even going to get into the 4 and 8s because this is all about credit card debt and those numbers compared to where the number is right now to refi.
Yeah, and the main reason I started doing no cost back in '87. So when you said you wanted older, more mature hosts, you really got one here. I'm old. And just saw that there was a way to kind of get around the bank. I came into the business as an auditor from accounting, and I saw all this waste, and I didn't understand closing costs when I first got into the business in '86, and people were paying 10, 15 grand, and now they're back to paying 10, 15 grand, and then the rates would change. So if the rate would change, then they'd be refinancing again, and people in my office would be charging 10, 15 grand again. And by the third time I saw that, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. The bank is just getting there's so much fee income being set aside here on top of hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest. There has to be something more that makes sense. So it's not just refi though, Joe. It's purchase, because when you're buying, if you haven't timed it right, I feel bad for anybody that paid a bunch of closing costs when they bought a house to get 7%. We're now below 7%. But rates go up and down. And I've been looking at this stuff since, oh God, what is it? 1986. That's 39.
Yeah.
That's, I'm old. But in the 39 years, you've seen everything. You've seen rates go up. I started when rates were double digits. I saw rates first come down from double digits in '87, and everybody thought that the rates were never going to be lower. And then they got to 6 and rates were never going to be lower. And then they got to 4 and rates would never be lower. 2 rates would never be lower. We had these same rates from 21 and in 2012. So, to think that rates won't come back down below 6 this year, We're into the fives. It just wouldn't logically make sense. So purchase or refinance, it was just a bank. It was an anti-bank type of program where instead of just everybody like sheep paying closing costs, buying the rate down, you don't get the benefit back of that if you're going to refinance every 9 months because we're in a cascading rate environment, or you're going to move in 5 years, or you're going to refinance massive amounts of equity out of your house to consolidate debt. Like you said, cash out consolidations are big, but purchases is the one where people are trying to scrimp and save for down payments. And then they've got to come up with, $8,000-$10,000 in closing costs.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. We don't have any. So, the payment starts a little bit higher, but you would need 8 years of payment hires. So, anybody out there watching this, if you think that this is the lowest rate for the next 7-8 years, go ahead and pay your 15 grand. But I also call it the wimpy hamburger theory. I'll gladly pay you 10, 15 grand for a benefit in 2033 to 2053. If you think you're going to be in that house for 30 years and pay it off, you're going to be the first one since my grandfather, I think, to keep a 30-year mortgage and pay
33
and pay it off. That's 53 is a long way. That's a real long way. Come on, 33 is far off because don't rush me.
Yeah,
rush me. The older you are, you don't want to be rushed on numbers. It's going to be a very slow process.
33 is like is that the ACC out of the ESPN contract?
Well, 30 is when we're going to see the end of it.
When you signed it, it felt a long time away, and now it's like actually it's
right on the corner.
Well, it also means that the future NBA number 1 pick is in 4th grade right now.
There we go. So those numbers
that way.
Those numbers are easy. Do yourself a favor. Hit them up at millerlending.com. It's the OG 919-447-3377. Austin Herbert, my guy, will take care of you.
One more thing to throw in there, Joe.
Yeah.
Anybody that does refer to the OG and does select that option when they come in and mention that they've heard about us, because we do track what sources work for us. For you guys, we're going to give them an extra gift at closing. So I can't come on here and say that for OG clients that they're going to pay no closing costs, because everybody will pay no closing costs. But we are adding a gift.
The Raleigh wine shop. I saw it.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right.
Nice gift basket.
Let's get into some memories here, some Final Four memories. I've only been to the Final Four twice.
How is that possible?
Well, I covered NC State.
Okay. I was like, you worked so long,
and I was a Duke season ticket holder. So hey, why did I go to more?
But they never just sent you to write like a sidebar on a Duke UNC Final Four.
08 is the one I got to go to in San Antonio.
Okay.
So I went to I had been to every ACC tournament from 04 till whenever.
Sure.
Jessica got sick, but that streak was always good. But Final Four was only 08. San Antonio, and then 22. Oh no, I've been to 3. Actually, I take it back, but 1 was as a fan. 22, New Orleans, Duke, Carolina, and then last year 24 in Glendale. Last year was a lot of fun because I just went. We went on the Friday. We went to the practices. The practices were actually fun. You're seeing all these fans. The Purdue fan base was a lot like the NC State fan base. So thirsty for anything. It'd been since 1980 since Purdue had been in the Final Four.
Joe Barry Carroll.
Yeah, it's been a minute, man. So they took over that building. Purdue did. State really did rep well. UConn was in classic, and you know this as a Duke fan. It was like, well, we'll kind of see you on Monday. How about that? It's like you guys have fun at these practices and this little national semifinal.
We've got dinner reservations during the other semifinal game. We don't even care about watching the other team.
And there was no Alabama there last year, which is why I still think Nate Oates will end up being North Carolina's coach. So how many Final Fours have you been to?
At least 8. At least 8 and probably more. It's the event is great. I mean, like you said, one time going in on Friday, you've got the practices, which I barely attend, but you've got the 3-point shooting and the dunk competition for college all-stars. You got a college all-star game that night. And then you've got just walking around the area. That's the thing that I enjoyed in Raleigh with the Elite 8 was, watching Bill Murray cheer for UConn.
Oh yeah. First and second rounds. Yep.
Way before the cameras ever even knew he was there. I'm like, wait, that's that guy with the messy hair and the t-shirt and the sloppy look. Oh yeah, it's gotta be him. And then about 10 minutes later, they showed him on the, I'm like, okay, I'll just breaking news for you. Bill Murray's right there, like 5th row watching UConn. But New Orleans was fun with Carmelo.
So
Orleans,
03.
yeah, New Orleans was fun for a lot of reasons, just because New Orleans is fun. But just the seats that we had at that point, we were sitting in front of Ernie Kent, who was talking about jobs he was going to get, none of which he got. He was getting fired at Oregon at the time. But the highlight, I think, is that I've been fortunate enough over the early years of me being down here, 98, 99, 2000, from my relationship with Bob Harris, I ended up on the board of directors for the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame.
Okay.
So from there, getting to meet, I mean, when I met Big House, Clarence Big House Gaines,
yeah.
and go to a Final Four, and it's the off day, and the coaches have their time off at the team, the coach's hotel, and you go over there, and there's Big House, and the next thing you know, 10 minutes later, you're in a room with Big House Gaines, John Chaney, and John Thompson, and Jerry Welsh, who got me in there.
Yeah,
Jerry's a great guy.
Anne Marie's dad.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot that. Yeah,
Anne Marie was Les Robinson's. She had interned for Les when I was in school. That's how far back we go.
Oh my God! Before she met Tony, then.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was. Jerry was like my personal host, and I would, I'd go to these functions, and I'm watching, and I'm sitting there thinking, is Gary Williams going to fall off that chair in the ball? Is he starting to sway? My brother and I remember the first time we saw Jim Boeheim's wife and her twin, and we were like, oh my God.
His first wife or the current wife?
The current wife
has a twin.
Yes, the beautiful.
How do we not know this?
Wife has a twin sister, and she is just as bubbly as Jim Boeheim's wife. And it was, I had an instant crush on that one.
I forgot she was the star of that 03 Final Four.
She had to be. She had to be. This was like Giselle, Tom Brady.
Sure,
she's good. At Atlanta.
So have you been to all of Duke's 5 title wins?
Just 2001 was the first.
Okay,
for me.
Minneapolis then. Yeah. Okay,
Minneapolis. When that was a fun trip, because at Minneapolis I went with my brother, who was a Maryland fan. Maryland was up on Duke like 75 points at halftime. Duke came back and won that game.
Yeah,
he flew home, and the next thing I knew, my dad showed up, who had never gone to a Final Four game, and we watched Duke win the national championship. So that was a personal highlight.
Very cool.
One thing I will tell people out there, if you're in Minneapolis and you have dinner at Ruth's Chris, even though the stadium looked like it was 10 feet away, we walked for like an hour.
A lot further.
It was a lot further. It's kind of like being on the plane and you see Sphere and you're like, oh, I could touch it. Yeah, no, it's like 3 miles away. So that was a lot.
The engineers are good like that. They make the letters bigger to make it feel like it's like closer.
Oh yeah, you just thought you were
like you're right there in the neighborhood.
Yeah, we just kept walking, and I'm looking at my dad, who was already in his 80s, and I'm thinking, this isn't going to end well. It's just, but we made it. The harder part was, I think the fun part when your team gets there is to go back to the team hotel after.
Yes.
And that was another key of Minneapolis was, from 1 o'clock to 2:30, there were no available taxis. We finally got one that we jammed in with another family and got back to the hotels, but we were stuck. And again, I'm with my dad, who's in his 80s, and he's only walked 1.5 miles, and now he's up till 2:30 in the morning, and he slept in the next day. But Final Fours are great. Going in, and when you've got the crowds on one team, like all the ACC tournaments you went to.
Yeah.
When Duke is playing and Carolina fans are waiting for the next game, and the Carolina fans are rooting against Duke, and the whole stadium is erupting with with an underdog or chances of an upset, or just to see a heavier fan base, nothing greater than seeing a quiet Kentucky fan base.
Yep.
That's a personal thing maybe, but it's, just not to see Smiley Ashley Judd on the Jumbotron. I didn't really need it, but, and I think the funniest thing that I can recall going back to Final Fours would be 2002 when we were in Atlanta, and there's nothing to do on Sunday in between. So, we're talking about what to do. The strip clubs were closed.
Why?
Easter.
And
we thought to ourselves, wait, so now, so this is the one that matters, but they're open on Christmas.
Easter. Yeah, Easter's a little bit different. I can see that.
True story.
The Final Four weekend, Easter, the malls were closed. Even the strip clubs were closed. The restaurants were all booked. It was a tough trip.
But we were talking about this earlier off the show. Easter ends at like 3 o'clock on that Sunday, right? Because there's all these things that go into Easter, right? You got your Monday, Thursday, you got your Good Friday, all that stuff. Easter's over. Like, you can still open this strip club Sunday night.
That's what I thought.
That's not disrespectful.
You close at midnight Saturday.
Yeah.
Which kills your crowd. But, reopen Sunday at 5. You got 200,000 Final Four fans and there was nothing to do.
Easter's all about rebirth. They should be reopening on Sunday.
So you're not going to San Antonio this week?
I leave Friday.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Look at you.
What else do I have to do?
I don't know. I know you're going to Danville. I didn't know if you were making this run or not.
No, that's just to cash winning tickets and finance my trip to San Antonio and do an upgrade if I need.
Take the results of the games out of it. What's your favorite location to host a Final Four?
Oh God, it would definitely be anywhere that's got moderate climate. Minneapolis,
Yeah.
I don't enjoy. I mean, Indy's laid out great.
Yeah,
Indy is
I
probably
hear that.
the
I've
best.
never been that one.
Indy's probably the best layout of any of them. And the funny point you guys were making a minute ago is that like St. Elmo's will be booked, but all the teams that know they're going to win, they don't care about the second game. So you either go before your game starts and it's fine, or you go after the first game is over and you're like, where's everyone? Oh, that's right, they're still there at the other stadium, right, watching nothing.
I feel like Houston would be the loser. And I know Carolina fans feel that way.
What did you think about Glendale?
I loved it.
Really?
I stayed in Scottsdale. I stayed right by the TPC course, and there's a bunch of stuff over there.
Scottsdale's
there was
great.
a bunch of stuff over there.
But then it's like, to your point, the game was one place, the team hotel was felt like in another city, and then Scottsdale was almost in another city. You know what I mean?
That
I hit all those places, but it's
not next door.
It wasn't just park your car and then just get around like New Orleans. Yeah.
So
or Indy. Indy is the same. Indy, you walk everywhere.
Indy is all centralized. I think the thing about Phoenix that I thought I wasn't going to like was there's a Phoenix downtown. There's where the stadium is. There's where everyone was actually staying. And you are spread out. But that Sunday, speaking of things to do, James, my son, went to the Suns game, which is in downtown Phoenix. So then we went, and then that's where all of the Final Four proper stuff was. I sometimes I forget that I went to the Final Four in 22 because we were on Radio Row. And it wasn't the stadium.
Right.
Radio Row, it was the New Orleans Convention Center. And I felt like I was people are like, oh, you were at the Final Four in 22. I'm kind of like, was I? Because you don't go to practice. You're not doing it. You've been on Radio Row. You're completely isolated. It's not working. It's just you're completely isolated. You're not at the site.
You're in a sealed off room with 250 tables, and you're like, hey, look who's over there.
But you're not even on site. So when I went away to San Antonio, I was in the Alamo Dome. They didn't have it set up as a center cut then. They had it set up in the end zone. So you still worked in the, that you were set up in the same place, the whole thing. So, are you going to go grab Duke? I think it's plus 100 right now to win the title, unless you don't have one from before.
Actually, all I can do now is just bet the Lions to win the Super Bowl. It's the odds.
Okay. It's probably a better number.
The injuries kind of,
as long as they stay healthy,
have set them back as a fifth choice for that. But the ones coming up are going to be fun, and that's the thing, whether Duke is there or not, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be at that Final Four. That'll be great, to have a Final Four there because there's a couple things to do. And then in Detroit, where I'm from, so you've got that one, I think, in 27, and Detroit's got plentiful, as you've been up there, Hayes, lots of casinos and lots of things to do. And, at that time of year, chances are the Tigers will have a game, and Comerica's a wonderful stadium. The Red Wings and Pistons could have.
That's what I did. I had a Diamondbacks game in between the Saturday, Monday.
Did you?
When I was in
the
Phoenix.
Spurs play Friday night, I think, but we have to fly into Austin. The flights to San Antonio, when you talk about tariffs and gouging.
Jeez. Somebody knew they were hosting a Final Four.
I priced out, the flights, and they were 1,900. And then I changed the dates by one day, and they were 358. And I'm like, oh yeah, you go Delta, you got this one down. But it's that's the interesting part of it. But the Final Fours are like nothing. The Saturday, the Monday, after the Saturday game, some people leave, and I thought about leaving this year, but again, the thing for Duke, my son said if we're going, he's staying until Monday night anyway. Yeah. So I'm gonna sleep probably and just leave him by himself and not tell him that I went to the airport. He can get around. He's 25 now. He'll be okay.
He's got it.
He's got it. But it's the Saturday is the real day.
Yeah. Well, Gordon Miller Lending, appreciate you, man. Enjoy your another Final Four trip. I hope you get to see Duke win another national title.
again, thanks for having me on. Hayes, it's great to see you again.
Awesome to see you.
And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. And again, appreciate you guys having me on.
Big thanks to Gordon Miller for dropping by. Big thanks to him for being a sponsor on the corporate champion on this program. And now, yeah, I've got Dimitri, Maniscalco, Lauren, you. Who am I missing other than Gold?
Chip,
like Pat Mellon.
Sports.
We
Pig.
still need to make that happen.
No, the Sports Pig.
Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do that.
Morgan Patrick.
Morgan and Chris. Chris Clark needs to come in and do one with Ovius.
I think with
Ovius. That
like,
needs to be them, not me. That's not me.
Get you out of the way.
Thing. Yeah.
You like, and I don't mean this as an insult.
No.
You want to get out of their way.
You're out.
Just let them do their thing.
Exactly. Big night tonight of regular season hockey. It's almost a playoff-like game in honor of our friend Alec Campbell. Washington, the Caps leading the division, coming into town. They take on the Hurricanes tonight. And you said we're in that time of the year where hockey is like, okay, can we just speed it up and get to the games that matter? Except there is one historic chase that is going on. That is Alex Ovechkin chasing Wayne Gretzky's all-time career goal scoring. He scored again last night in Boston, but the Joe Giglio will have to write the definitive lead for AP. He needs 4 to set the record.
Speaking of which, is kudos. I mean, this is an all-time player going for an all-time record over one of the greatest names ever associated with a sport.
Yes,
like
any
one
sport, any
one
team
person
sport.
tied with one sport. Yeah, there aren't many bigger than Gretzky and hockey. But real kudos to you to making this all about Joe Giglio and whether or not he is going to have to come. I mean, I listened to the pod, bud, and you guys have been counting whether or not Joe Giglio is going to have to write this story. Yes, that's been a huge story. Well, very well done. That's as hyper local as you can get. Screw Alex Ovechkin and talking about him. It's all about Joe Giglio. I think you're off the hook because he still needs 4 tonight, right?
Yeah, he missed an open net last night.
Okay,
so we were almost in pre-write
if
territory. If it was a hat trick, I think we were in
here's my
be
question.
Careful territory.
Canes, obviously, we validated ourselves as a franchise. We have a Stanley Cup. We now have like a strong run led by a former player. You know what I mean? And I think we've achieved that. I talked about this years ago. The danger zone really was in the middle teens, where when you make it to 25 years, you now have like generational footing, right? There are kids who can be out of college and in theory, businessmen who can buy season tickets who do not know a world where the Carolina Hurricanes didn't exist, right? Like if you were born in 1994, you don't remember a time when the Carolina Hurricanes didn't exist, and you could now be a 30-something-year-old that's buying season tickets. That is a big place to be for me for a franchise, right?
Okay.
Now you're like in there. But we still catch heat for not being a real NHL franchise, not being a Power 6. Should the Canes allow Ovechkin, the original 6, whatever, what I say, Power 6? I'm a college guy, okay? Should the Canes lay down and let Ovechkin score 4 or 5 here tonight just so that we can be in the record book? You know that Doug Wharf will have a banner up tomorrow, like on one of the walls of PNC, like hockey history made here. Obscure the fact that it was giving up 4 goals, but like the Canes, we didn't make ourselves relevant. Let him get the record tonight. That's my stance.
Okay.
No, he's not going to do it tonight. But all right, well, taking him out of it, truly aren't we at a time where like, yes, playoff atmosphere, and that these are 2 teams going to the playoffs and should host a first round playoff game each. But like right now, they're both just biding their time. Correct? Capitals and Canes. Don't you think they're more like, I know we're not resting guys or like only playing AHL players, but like over the next 2 weeks, I feel like it's collective, like hold your breath so that you're not hurt. We would take starting the playoffs right now with our status. And there's a good chance we're not going to fall a couple seeds lower, right? Don't you think both teams are a little more in not we got to win tonight mode, but more we are fine tuning things for the playoffs.
The way
and
the Canes
staying
have been
healthy.
playing has really been impressive. Now, the last game that I covered was against Nashville, and they were not good in that game, but they've beaten Montreal and the Islanders since. 10 goals in the last 2 games. You know, they seem to have found a couple of things offensively. It's always about their depth. You know, the third and fourth lines are the ones that are always going to produce for them. My concern for the playoffs is that those lines will stop producing. This Jankowski phenomenon will stop producing. Washington, though, right now, more points than the Canes. During the regular season, they've been a more consistent, been a better team. Guess who's got better odds to win the Stanley Cup? Who do you think has better odds to win the Stanley Cup? Washington or the Hurricanes?
I'm going to, because you're asking the question that suggests Canes. The Canes, I feel like, always have better odds than anybody actually thinks they would. So I'm going with the Canes.
Okay. So the Jets right now have 106 points and are on pace to be the President's Trophy. As you know, you do not want to win the President's Trophy.
You want that for next year.
Yeah.
That becomes the trend. Your President's Trophy, you disappoint, and then next year you come back and do it.
So Washington's only a point behind the Jets. They would be the number 1 seed in the East right now with 105 points. That's quite a turnaround. Of course, it helps that Ovechkin is scoring at this ridiculous rate for a 40-year-old or 39-year-old. He's truly kind of bucking every trend there is. They've been really impressive. So part of me always says, well, I want to see how you compare, right? Edmonton was here not that long ago, and that was a game I went to thinking, all right, let's see where you're at. And Edmonton beat them 3-1. Tampa is a team they just beat 4-1. Tampa's been playing really well. Anytime Florida comes here, you're like, okay, these are those measuring stick type games. Washington's different in the sense that there is that shared history. You have the playoff series. You have the stadium series game. You have them playing and understanding like Ovechkin. And they are more than Ovechkin. Okay, I get that. You don't go from where they were last year out of the playoffs to now this year being the tops in the conference without being more than one guy. But there is a sense to me that the Hurricanes understand who the Capitals are. So should be a fun game. But to your point, let's hurry up and get to the one. Let's hurry up and get to game 83, please. Pretty please. This could be a second round matchup in the playoffs. So we would all enjoy that. I know that for sure. Canes are plus 1,000 right now, 10-1. Washington's 11-1. The Canes are tied for the second best odds, though, in the East. Florida, your cup favorite at plus 500, and then Canes and Tampa both at 10-1.
Okay, a couple things. One, can offer a little scouting take. This is a deep analytic cut. I've been studying the numbers, getting real in the weeds on this, and I think I've uncovered something that I don't think other people pick up on. When the Capitals are on the power play, okay, Ovechkin likes to set up, like if you're the goalie, he's like just over there to your right. And if you leave him wide open, as teams tend to do, he's got a really good shot and he will rip it in there for a goal. It's like almost guaranteed to happen every game. So it's like, I don't know, maybe put like 3 dudes. I realize you're on the power play and you only got 4 dudes that are on the goalie. Maybe put all 4 of them and just stand with a little circle around Ovechkin and just take your chances of all those other people. Because I know when Ovechkin gets it in that spot and there happens to be no one around him, as there always is, he will score a goal. So that's my scouting tip for the
you gotta look for the game. You gotta look for those yellow laces just in case you don't know who he is.
And my other take, and I've probably said this before and I'll say it again, is and I always listen with interest. I like it when you guys are actually debating and arguing. Like you can tell there's like emotion, not like silly, like, like I hate this guy. But when you guys were having your back and forth about what you want out of your college basketball team, right? And you're like, you want to be Creighton? Like that's, and you're like, I want to be UConn, and there's a little bit of, as in any good debate, like misrepresenting for the purpose of belittling the other guy's point, right? So I don't know where this stands in y'all's discussion, but to me, what Rod Brindamore and Tom Dunn and the Carolina Hurricanes have done is exactly what you ask for in a fan, right? To your point, you're like, no, I'd rather only be in there once and make the run. But the math is with, give me a guy who guarantees you he's in the final 8 every year. And if you do that for 10 years in a row, there's a decent chance that one of those times
you'll pop one
and you get one, right? Okay. And if you really get lucky, maybe it's 2 or 3 in the 8 year. But like, for what you're saying, yes, that might be fun to enjoy as a fan. Like we don't go often, but when we do, we go deep, baby, right? But as far as like planning wise, you can't ask the person to be like, well, I don't care if you go that much. When you do, make sure you go deep, right? Rod Brindamore is playing a math game, right? And I know people are like built for the playoffs or not built for the playoffs or whatever it is. If a guy is getting you to the final 8 every time, he is doing his job as far as like it's going to break for you. So I think the Canes are on a path to once again be one of the final 8. I will ride with that even if they lose in the second round.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Yes, thanks to our friends at Happy and Hale. You can be a Black Card Executive member. Here's what you got to do. Use our promo code OG25. OG25. Download the app. Use that promo code. You will save 25% on your order, your first order. Take a screen grab of that. Email it to me at giglio.joe@gmail.com. Okay? Do that. You'll be entered to win one of these exclusive Black cards. And that card is the Caleb Love special. You will save 20% for life.
Wait, what's the Caleb Love? Because he shot 20%?
No, because he's for life.
For life. I thought that was
for life.
3-point percentage.
Legit for
his
life,
career.
though. Not the Caleb Love for life. So you want to tell the people where they are since I don't say it properly.
North Hills? Not North Hills?
I have not a single clue in differentiating what you're saying between what I'm saying and what you're saying. But I respect the fact that you are willing to die on that hill. So
it's North Hills. North Hills.
North Hills.
North Hills.
North Hills.
Yes.
North Hills.
Yes. Not North Hills. New York, not New York.
I'm not going to pretend to understand.
North Hills.
I'm not going to pretend to understand the difference between what you're telling me. Lightning Rounds brought to you by our friends at Sam Jones Barbecue downtown on Lenore. There's always parking at Lenore. Go hit them up for lunch. They have great deals. Like I told you, people, when you go, you order, you're on your phone, they send you deals. I got a text just yesterday, 15% off your order. You can't beat it, man. And they have great food. Now here's the part where Hayes tells you that I don't know anything about barbecue and blah, 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 blah. But
no, wait, come on. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to say bourbon Cheerwine slushy. I was going to say bourbon.
Whoa, what?
Do you not know about the bourbon Cheerwine slushy?
Whoa.
My only fear is that I'm bringing this up and they don't still have it. But I'm pretty sure they have a bourbon Cheerwine slushy. So double check. And and a sneaky good like canned beer selection. They do have drafts. You know, I'm not knocking it, but like they will get some like crafty seasonal canned beer as well. So all right, check out the alcohol at Sam Jones.
Let us start the lightning round with Elliot Cadeau has committed to transfer to Michigan.
Okay.
Elliot Cadeau, UNC's point guard, the last 2 years. He's been okay. He's had some moments, but mostly I think they had to have that conversation that Duke had with Jeremy Roach to tell him,
yes,
listen, man, love you, mean it, but we think we'll be better off without you, and you'll be better off without us. It's getting back to Caleb Love as well.
I just like to see that Michigan is now taking transfer credits from the University of
North
Carolina.
Yeah, that's interesting because when Caleb Love left 2 years ago, he wanted to go to Michigan.
It's almost as
he
if
wanted to go to Michigan.
In college athletics, academics is fungible and dependent on how good the player is, you know,
that's
or how much they want them or want to fire their coach or not. I'll say this. Hubert Davis is not running things the same way Roy Williams does. There are some tendencies, there's some tenets that run through the program. So people still think of like, you know, the point guard as the engine that makes North Carolina run. I do wonder if there would have been another level up for Elliot Cadeau at UNC and if they'll find somebody that's better than him. So I'm not.
No, I think they will. They'll find something 100%. Bigger too.
So, okay, so
I mean, he was a liability defensively.
That was a matter of what he was,
and he couldn't offset it. He is an excellent passer, but he turned the ball over too much, and he couldn't offset his liability. If you're a liability, like I played golf with Scott Wood yesterday. Okay. Now, Scott was a good team defender, but, Scott had his issues as a basketball player, right? But he could stroke.
Offset that by,
And you offset that, A, by being able to stroke, and B, by being a functional team defender. Elliot Cadeau, much of this season, was targeted by the opponents. And it was like, okay, we're going to just, the play was do Elliot.
Yeah.
That was the play.
And he also just had some bad tendencies. The flopping's the wrong word, but he picked up the RJ Davis.
Him and RJ did the,
which then I feel like what's the other? Seth Trimble did it a couple times in a game where I feel like the refs were smart and they discounted whatever contact happened because they saw you exaggerate. Whereas if you had just played it normal, you might have actually gotten that foul call. So like, yeah, he needs to get rid of that habit. But I do wonder if he might have had a pop in year 3. Like I said, sometimes you figure out crafty ways to play defense as a smaller guard. You figure out a couple other tricks of the trade. You learn a little bit running an offense. You don't do certain things, but because he kind of had a knack for getting to the hole for a guy his size. But I agree, overall, he is undersized. We didn't talk about this, but that's one of the.
Yeah, I think part of his problem too was they had 3 smaller guards.
Yes, yeah.
So it wasn't just
him. It
one.
was like, yes,
it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
think credit to John Shire. That's one of the, when you talk about roster construction, like, yeah, there's a reason why we talk about Isaiah Thomas and Allen Iverson is like, wow, I can't believe they overcame their size, because not many dudes can do that in the NBA. And like even Steph Curry, we think of as like a small guy. By the time he gets his shoes on, he's probably 6'3", 6'4", you know what I mean? And he's still on the lower end, but he ain't 5'11", and it's just tough to do. And then on a good college team, you're going to run up against John Shire or Houston or somebody throwing 5 long dudes at you, and that's the difference between a great team and just a good to okay team.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
Now let's stay in college basketball. Buzz Williams is Maryland's new coach. Buzz, 52, was at Texas A&M. Before that, Virginia Tech. Before that, Marquette. Looks like he has a pattern here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years at Marquette. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at VT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years at Texas A&M.
So he'll be there for about 5 or 6 years. Also, did he ever move up or down a level?
No. Well, Marquette to VT was definitely a down.
Drop.
But that was he had issues. He had issues with the AD at Marquette.
Yeah. Like moving
now,
to the ACC, that was Virginia Tech on the heels of Seth Greenberg. I mean,
I was told, so Buzz Williams, 52 years old, has had success at all those places, but has never been to the Final Four, which is an interesting, it's one of those things you have to have as a coach, right? To be considered, one of those. Buzz Williams is an excellent basketball coach. Please don't get me wrong. I was told during the NC State search, he actually was interested in the state job, would take the state job. Now, if this number is right, it looks like Maryland in that Big Ten money is kicking in here. Looks like it'd be $7 million for his contract. That's pretty starchy. Will Wade, obviously a bargain compared to what NC State would have had to pay for Buzz Williams. Are you ambivalent to this one? Does it feel like something we should care about? A former ACC coach going to now a former ACC school?
I like the fact that his name's Williams. Coach's name Williams do well at,
wait a second.
Maryland,
you
right?
actually broke the news kind of sort of when he went to Texas A&M. Wasn't his financial advisor at your radio hit from the Carolina Ale House?
Yes.
And you were like, his financial advisor was just here. And he said he's going to Texas A&M.
Right? That's fun. How do you remember that? And I don't remember that at all.
Well, his agent also told me that was happening.
So some guy did claim that, but I was never one that people would believe breaking news. And you never want to be caught like the idiot who like thinks he's got breaking news. But no, I absolutely remember that now. Where the guy was like, yeah, he's gone. It was.
I'm going to pretend that was not a shot at me.
It was because. No. You actually have. One time I tried to break news from the David Glenn Show account. It was Justin Anderson for UVA, got hurt late in the game, late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a buddy who was a I've UVA grads who are friends.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me like his X-ray. They had a friend who like works at the hospital. I mean, it was like, you remember when Schefter put something out? And so I had like fallen asleep after the game, looked up, was looking around. This is when Twitter was still like, you know, a pretty big deal, you know. And I'm like, nobody's reported this? And my guy was like, the surgery is scheduled for Tuesday. Like he's out 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. And like, you know, and I was like, all right, this is solid, right? I'm putting it out there. All Virginia media is so mad at me. Like, just like, we're sitting here in the press room with this guy knows it, whatever. And then, you know, nobody saw this, but Eric, what's his name? Bald guy.
His henchman.
VA
Tony Bennett's henchman.
But he came up to me and was like, how'd you get that? Like, and I was like, respect. Like he wasn't mad, and I was like, I was actually a doctor. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. But no, that's I don't have the stomach for breaking news and being told I'm an idiot when I know I'm right. I'll let you do that.
There are many topics for lightning rounds today on OMG.
All right, props to you for sending me an entire show rundown today.
We don't have to hit all of them. Some of them can go to tomorrow's lightning round if needed to.
No, I know, but here's one from I didn't quite understand where you were coming from. Speaking of elitist, the Masters was better before the lottery.
Yeah. Now they're letting.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So a few years ago, they started a lottery where like average fans could get tickets.
Anyone can.
Yeah.
But you have to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's too many common people at the Masters. It's now the gear's everywhere, and like it was much cooler when people like me who didn't have tickets but knew people who did could think of themselves as better than. And now it's like there's just too much Masters talk and way too much gear out there. Way too many like wannabes wearing the gear. I mean, like Goodson. No, I love Josh Goodson, right? But he should.
Josh about to catch a stray.
He shouldn't be able to buy his way into the Masters. He's, you know, like you need to be reminded of who you are and where you came from. And no, all right, I will say this jokingly: it wasn't. Yeah, obviously, members at Augusta. That's a club that, like, you know, we'll never sniff, and like that is like the most elitism in America, right? There was something about people who, and you may know this through the press, like guys like John Dell at the Winston-Salem Journal, who's been covering for like 20 years, and his, credential still gets honored. It's less about your prestige, but more about, hey, how long have you been respecting the tournament? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were people who were not the richest, most, of means people that I know. They just had grandfathers who grew up in Aiken, South Carolina, an hour away from the tournament, who loved golf. And so they signed on very early and have been honored at this super low rate forever. And so that part was kind of cool of like, it's not just the richest people had Masters tickets. It was people from the South that had. To
be clear, you're upset that the Masters now there's more access to the Masters.
Yeah. It's like, even I would take me never getting to go. Now, I know some people who have some tickets, so I've been allowed to go. Screw you, Trevor Immelman, the guy who won the
really?
The 1 year I had 4-day access. And I know we can curse or don't. Top of the leaderboard every day. MFR went wire to wire. Now, Tiger did finish second, but there was like no drama. Like Tiger rallied even just to get in there. And I have to listen to Trevor Immelman now become the new voice of CBS Golf.
Oh.
And he ruined my Masters week by winning, when it could have been Phil, could have been Tiger. Even give me VJ at a time where VJ was hot. Instead, it was Trevor Immelman for 4 days. But yeah, too many commenters at the Masters.
All right, it's time to get out of here with some Hey Joe. Hey Joe, brought to you by Nature's Relief, our friends at Nature's Relief, naturesreliefhempstore.com. Hit them up in Garner on Timber Drive. Great spot. You can also go to the one on Western. There's Holly Ridge.
I was like, is the one on Western in Raleigh or Cary? It's very close.
Might be Cary because it's right there on that Buck Jones type of border there.
I was curious when I saw it. I was like, oh, there it is.
And there it is. So, yeah, go check them out. I actually do have a phone call today for Hey Joe, and that means we get to play the jingle. 919 444 2211.
919 444 2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Yeah, man, curse or don't. And this is going to get into your argument about still being able to hate Duke, because I think this actually might be better than your list of grievances.
Yeah, all right.
Hey guys, I was listening to Dimitri and Giglio's conversation about Carolina fans actually rooting for Duke because they don't want to see the SEC win, and I'm at a loss, guys. Don't let the stupid conference pride stuff coming from the SEC change your reality. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking conference pride is something that we should actually root for. I do understand TV contracts and the money. Like, these things matter now. I get that. But don't let that trick you into rooting for Duke. What are we doing? Don't fall for the trap. ACC pride is dumb. Screw everyone else in the conference. I want to see them all lose. Go Heels and nobody else. Don't fall for that trap. Hey, guys.
No notes.
It's
Flawless.
all you wanted, right?
It is. I like, we should be throwing that in the face of the SEC more than we do when they're like, SEC pride, be like,
Yeah.
oh, so you guys root for each other? That's cute. I guess you guys don't have real rivalries. I guess your rivalries don't mean more, because, like, how could you be rooting for the other SEC team? Like, I full respect to that guy. And it is tougher because we have to listen to the best conferences of all time. I've never seen so many, like, oh my God, they got 2 in the Final Four. I loved your idea of
Line them up.
let Tennessee get in and let us, like, let Duke beat whoever they have first. Then before they play the winner of the other game, play the loser of the other game, beat them, and then beat them, just to be like, no. Your best conference talk, you can get to walking with that, because if you can't beat the best of the best, any of your guys, then you get out of here. And that, I mean, it looks like it's going that way. I'm not predicting it, but, like, Duke has taken all comers, and I think there was somebody, maybe it was Gordon who mentioned this earlier, talked about or Hansbrough, when you played that clip, them being younger guys. I did expect and still wonder if we will see a moment of older guys flexing on younger guys.
Yeah.
But
That's the way the tournament has gone, and Houston certainly has an older veteran lineup.
But you haven't seen any sign that might happen. Like, this seems like a mature group, the guys that are leading the way for Duke.
Let's go to the Instas. Speaking of Nate Oates, and speaking of this topic, it's from the other day, but yeah, I'm a Carolina fan and alum. Duke is a solid team. You can't deny it. They operate like a well-oiled NBA team. All the parts fit. They know their job. High IQ, big and strong, solid PG play. And then he said that Michigan State was the only one that he thought could potentially beat them. We'll see. I do think Duke is going to win. I think Florida's probably the opponent on Monday.
I think if Broom was if you knew he was healthy, I think they'd be the more dangerous opponent. And that's a matchup I want to see, just because
I do want to see the Florida-Auburn game. I just feel like Auburn offensively, my opinion of the tournament is the team who makes shots win. That's why you haven't seen Houston be the last team standing on the first Monday in April, because they're simply they have not. This is their best 3-point shooting team that Kelvin Sampson's had, but they're not really that great offensively. I think Duke's true versatility, and I wrote about this for OG fans today, which of course you could subscribe, link below. Duke's, styles make fights, but Duke was good enough to, sprint with Alabama. They're good enough to slog through Houston as well. So I like their chances to close this thing out. The way they've been handling everything that's come their way this year, it's been impressive.
If they face Auburn in the finals, I think Pettiford and Broom both have the potential to be the best player on the court on a given night.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a guarantee, and Duke will definitely have a plan and give them trouble, but they at least would have a puncher's chance, even though I feel like they've fallen off, and I feel like Duke's the better team. And if they played a 7-game series, I would take Duke to win in 6 games or fewer. I think Auburn, Pettiford has that I'm gonna do this shit, type game, and Broom has the just sheer ability to be like, you got 2 big dudes on me, but I got hook shots from other angles. I'm gonna still get my 20 and 10.
All right, so we've got from the YouTube comments from Permar, Duke guy, is Duke suddenly lovable, or is the backlash for the SEC real? Yes, ? People are tired of the bombastic SEC puffery this year. I like that. And the basketball fans are hoping that Cooper Flag can be the next big thing. Mostly, though, I think Duke hating is a spent force at this point. People have just been doing it for too long. If you hate Duke, it's probably time to schedule your colonoscopy.
They killed light rail. Did you not hear that? They killed light rail. Come on, I got a great list here. They killed light rail.
I have a great list. I enjoy your nonsense tremendously, Hayes. That was not a quote unquote great list.
That was a great list.
All right. Well, we made it. It lasted an hour and 20 minutes even. I'm kind of sort of proud of us. Because Ovius likes to say, oh, yeah, I saw Hayes is the only person that can do an hour and 40 minutes.
Listen on 1.5, baby. Listen on 1.5. It goes faster.
You'll be done even faster.
Listen on 1.5. Where are we tomorrow?
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah.
Are we having a meeting?
One of those buttons is the meeting.
Oh, I don't want to start pressing buttons.
It's the bottom either yellow or the bottom pink of the two. Yeah, hit that.
Are we having a meeting?
Nope.
No,
it's definitely not that.
Let's just have a meeting. I don't want to screw it up any worse. Where are we tomorrow?
I think we're just going to be here unless you want to drag everything over to the Rialto tomorrow.
No, we don't have to do that.
Okay.
But we will be live.
Oh, we're live.
Okay. But I thought it was always on location.
Not every Thursday.
It's live, brought to you by the Butcher's Market, but not necessarily at a Butcher's Market.
Also correct.
Okay.
Also correct. You got it all down, man. You got it all down.
Even the order of the segments.
Order of the
I got it right here, baby.
Oh, boy. We'll be back tomorrow. Hayes Permar back tomorrow, too, for an OG live brought to you by the Butcher's Market.